Hi, I'm Dr. Bharat Reddy. I'm a trained pediatric pulmonologist who deals with chest diseases in children. This interesting area of pediatric sleep actually comes under the purview of pediatric pulmonology because it involves breathing problems in children during sleep. Hence, we are trained as pediatric pulmonologists to also deal with sleep disorders in children. So sleep as such is an essential bodily function in all children. Sleep is important for a child's physical, mental health, as well as growth and development, as well as the immunity of a child. This child develops sleep cycles as early as newborn period to up to 6 months. So it's important for a mother to start realizing that she needs to train her child to sleep as early as 6 months of age. So simple rule is, if her parents want the child to sleep in her arm, then she will have to put the child to sleep in her arm, and that might continue for a long period of time. So what we're going to discuss today is how to ensure that your child will have a good sleep pattern, not only in the newborn period, but to last much later into adolescence. The first principle of sleeping in the newborn period is something what we call as self-soothing skills. So what are these self-soothing skills? Is that when a child is put to sleep, the child should not be rocked first and then put to sleep in a crib. The child should be allowed to sleep just when the child is drowsy but still awake. So the child puts himself to sleep in the crib. Otherwise, what happens is this child always will expect you to rock the child to sleep. So it's important to allow the child to self-soothe himself to sleep. I'm not saying that you allow the child to cry himself to sleep, but the child is drowsy and you put the child and he will put himself to sleep. What happens is during the night, if the child wakes up again, he has learned to put himself to sleep without disturbing everybody else. So this self-soothing skill is something which is recommended right from the newborn period. The second thing which is important is you should carry the child only when he's fussy. I mean, if he's fussy and crying, you carry the child and put him to sleep. But if the child is awake and happily looking around, why do you want to always carry him? So you again need to put him in the crib, so he will learn to sleep in the crib much more. Also, you should realize that a child has lived like 9 months inside the womb. And after he comes out, his day and night cycles are completely different. He's going to stay awake during the night and sleep during the day. So how do we overcome this? So it's important that during the day, you don't allow the child to sleep too much. Every 2 hours, you try to feed the child, so that especially if he's awake, you keep trying to feed the child, keep him active. This way, he will sleep for a longer time during the night. Also, we should always keep the room really bright during the day. Allow sunlight to come in, because sunlight is what stimulates our sleep cycles. And during the night, ensure that the room is really dark. So this also allows the child to sleep well during the night. And lastly, in case you need to wake up to feed a newborn baby during the night, try to make this feeding extremely boring. As in, you don't sing a song, don't rock him, don't put on the lights, everybody don't get active during the night. It has to be a very boring thing for him to wake up and sleep during the night. Right? So he just feeds in the night and falls asleep without troubling anybody else. And this will carry on for a long time. If you follow these basic principles for a newborn child, this will help you to establish a good sleep cycle within a month or two. And the child will sleep really well during the night and stay awake and active during the day. So if we follow these basic principles, as I mentioned in the newborn period, by the age of 6 months, a child should have established good sleep patterns. So a child can sleep up to 8-hour stretches during the night by 6 months of age, right? So this also means that you have to close the night kitchen, right? You have to try to stop feeding during the night. See, a child who's feeding every 2 hours or 3 hours during the day manages sufficient energy to sleep during the night. So we have to stop feeding during the night. Now, it may be very difficult. It's going to be extremely painful. The child is going to cry, the parents are going to cry, etc. But it's important for both the partners to support each other during the initial few days of this stopping nighttime feeding. And after that, the child will establish a good 8-hour sleep. And even the child will sleep better when he's not waking up to feed, right? And he's already going to self-soothe himself to sleep. Another important point during this period is you have to be consistent in where you want your child to sleep. If you want the child to sleep for the next 5 years in your cot, you make the child sleep in your cot, which is what most parents shouldn't be doing. So you should have a separate crib for the child or a separate bed for the child where you put the child to sleep right from 6 months of age. So the child knows that that is his place to actually fall asleep, right? So we need to be very consistent in where you put your child to sleep also. And it's important to realize that, see, every whimper at night doesn't mean the child wants to feed, right? Every time the child wakes up at night, it doesn't mean he wants to feed. So you always keep feeding the child every time he wakes up at night. He thinks that is what he's supposed to do. So that is what disrupts the sleep cycle during the night. So it's important for us to start realizing that by 9 months, you ensure that the child sleeps continuously 8 hours through the night. See, it's very difficult for you to establish sleep patterns, let's say at the age of 5 years or 6 years, right? So it's very important for us to start early. So all that I mentioned about newborn period, infancy needs to be followed, and then you will ensure good sleep after 5 years. See, parents are humans too, they need to sleep, right? So it's important for us to start doing this much earlier, but it's never too late. So any child who's brought to us, we can try to put in a good sleep pattern in this child. So it's important that don't wait till adolescence, act as early as possible.